Are you dealing with some crazy making behavior in the workplace? We have all been there. And there's a good chance that whether you realize it or not, everyone in this audience, as long as you have been in a work environment, has or will encounter a narcissist at some point in their professional career. Now, this isn't meant to scare you, but in work environments, narcissism is often rewarded. So whether somebody is NPD level or not, you're going to encounter people with highly narcissistic behaviors at work. Now, not everyone who succeeds in business is a narcissist, not by far. Narcissists are still in the minority, thank goodness. But in this video, I'm going to explore 7 signs that you're dealing with a narcissist at work. And then we're going to talk about the differences between having a narcissistic boss and a narcissistic coworker, because your life can look a lot different depending on which you're dealing with. And I have a few tips for you to handle it either way. For now, let's dive into those 7 signs. Welcome to the Common Ego community. My name is Christina, and on this channel we explore emotional abuse, its connection with spirituality, and we attempt to answer the question, where do we go from here? So if that all sounds good to you, be sure you're subscribed and hit that notification bell so you don't miss a thing. And if you're already subscribed, thank you and welcome back. Today we're going to cover a much requested topic from you all in this community: narcissists in the workplace. So let's go ahead and jump right in with the 7 signs you're dealing with a narcissist in the workplace. The first sign is shift responses. And we've talked about this in another video, but in the workplace, you will see it as well. A shift response is when you say something. Maybe you're telling a story or sharing an experience that happened to you, or maybe you have an idea that you want to share, right? So you're sharing, you're talking. If you're talking to a narcissist, or sometimes even near a narcissist, they will shift the conversation to them. And at work, it could happen when you're talking about something personal, or it could happen when you're trying to share an idea that you have. So you could be in a meeting, and you're in a meeting with a narcissist, and so you present your idea and that person chimes in, oh yeah, that's great, but here's why it's not going to work, and here's my idea. And very likely, almost always, this person is interrupting you, so it's like they're stepping all over you to get themselves back in the spotlight. Another sign that you're dealing with a narcissist at work is name dropping. So if they went to an Ivy League school, oh my goodness, you're gonna hear about it. If they have any credentials that are unique or highly regarded in your industry, you're gonna hear about those too. You're gonna hear about anything that they think is special to them. And maybe other people think these things are special too, but there's a limit to the amount of times that you really want to hear about it. This name dropping can also come up as an association with somebody who they think is special. And this you'll see very often with a covert narcissist. If they've worked with somebody who is maybe famous in your industry, or just famous in general, or even if they have a personal relationship with the boss, that's something they're going to bring up over and over and over again to make themselves feel like they're so much more special than anyone else around. And also, really, it's an attempt to make everyone else around believe that too. But we know that when somebody really is great and awesome and confident, they don't do those things. They don't scream about their accomplishments because they don't have to. So the 4th sign you're dealing with a narcissist at work is that this person is going to lack follow through. Now, narcissists are very, very often charismatic people. So they are going to be really good at sharing their ideas and getting people to listen to them. And they're also going to be good at manipulating people to believe that something is good even if it's not. The problem is, and here's where it all falls apart, regardless of where the narcissist is in the company, regardless of their standing or their position, they're going to expect that other people are actually going to do the work to follow through on their idea. So even if this person manages no one, they manage no one but themselves. They'll have their idea, and then when it doesn't come to fruition and the boss is looking at them for answers, they're going to start pointing fingers to everyone around them. Well, I did this part, but I was just waiting for this person to do their part. this person didn't do this and that person didn't do that. They're going to shift the blame all around so it doesn't fall on them. So the fifth sign you're dealing with a narcissist in the workplace is illegal or immoral behavior. And this is when you know you're dealing with somebody who's very highly narcissistic. Grandiosity is a very large part of narcissistic personality disorder. And somebody who has feelings of grandiosity or superiority, they very often will feel like they're above the law. So these are the people who are going to do illegal or immoral things in the workplace, and probably outside of the workplace too. But these are the people who are going to steal customers from the company, and they might be running a side business and using company resources to personally profit. They may also be getting kickbacks from vendors or suppliers. So every time the company orders from this place, the narcissist gets a kickback. Number 6, the sixth sign that you are dealing with a narcissist at work is that this person is very, very, very sensitive to criticism. Now, no one likes to be criticized, and a lot of it has to do with the delivery. In the workplace, in a professional environment, you need to be able to handle constructive criticisms. Again, we can all be defensive at times, but what we're talking about when we're talking about identifying narcissists is patterns of these behaviors. So if you notice somebody who could never accept criticism, even when it's extremely gentle and constructive, if they could never admit that they've done anything wrong and are always blame shifting, you are very likely dealing with a narcissist in the workplace. Okay, so did I save the best for last? Maybe. This is where the flying monkeys come in. This is passive-aggressive behavior that you see in the workplace. That is another sign that you're dealing with a narcissist. It doesn't always show up in the form of flying monkeys, but I've seen it myself in the workplace, and it is not pretty. So passive-aggressive behavior, though, can show up in a variety of ways. It can be hostile joking. So you're standing with a group of coworkers, maybe you're laughing about something, and the narcissist comes over and makes a joke that insults you, and then says, haha, just kidding. When you're dealing with somebody who does this consistently, you're probably dealing with somebody who has very highly narcissistic tendencies. What they're trying to do is embarrass you and reduce your standing in the social group. Another example of passive-aggressive behavior that a narcissist may display in the workplace is playing the victim. So they're probably going to be the one pushing your buttons, but then they're going to be the victim when you react. We should all be conscious of our reactions. We should all try to control our reactions and remain completely professional in the workplace. And if you don't, that's certainly something that you have to own. But if you notice that somebody is constantly triggering you, regardless of how you react, you're probably dealing with a narcissist. Okay, so now for those flying monkeys. So I worked with someone a few years ago, and she had gotten her friend a job at the same company. And it wasn't long before this friend turned everyone against the friend who had recommended her for this very job. And it started out very much as just a tense situation. You could tell that there was tension. You could tell that there was a lot of gossip. It ended up in full-on adult bullying, to the point where this person was crying at work. And there is a happy ending, but that happy ending involved her leaving this toxic environment. And this flying monkey situation can be so toxic in the work environment, because unlike when it happens personally, a lot of times you can walk away. You can cut contact with the people who are the flying monkeys of the narcissist. But when it happens at work, you still have to show up to work every day. So this can affect you on so many levels. It can affect you physically, it can affect the stress, can affect your physical health, it can affect you certainly emotionally and spiritually. When you're dealing with a narcissist at work, it's a very toxic work environment. So that brings me to the discussion about having a narcissistic boss versus a narcissistic coworker. So the example I just shared, that I was talking about a coworker. This person was not managing anyone, but yet this person was able to create such havoc in the workplace for another person. You might be tempted to think, if you haven't been through it, that it's worse to have a narcissistic boss, but it can still be incredibly damaging to have a narcissistic coworker. That stuff still comes home with you, and it creates stress. And when you have somebody who's making it their mission to make you look bad in front of the boss, it can affect your career. I don't really want to say that one is better than the other for sure, but the reason why I lean towards it's worse having a narcissistic boss is because what happens in that situation is that it's not limited to just the boss. When you're in an environment that's run by a narcissist, you're going to see dysfunction throughout the organization. So what happens in cases like these usually is that you have the narcissistic boss, and then you have lower level narcissists throughout the organization and other emotionally unhealthy people. When there's a narcissistic boss, the environment is so toxic, and you're gonna see all of the usual players that you see around a narcissist. But because the narcissistic boss has so many people to play with in this situation, the players are going to change roles. You're going to see there's going to be a golden child, and that golden child may stay that way for a long time, but nobody can stay on top forever, right? Especially when you have so many people in the work environment trying to be the golden child, trying to be the person who gets all the praise from the boss. So you'll have the golden child, but the golden child will fall out of favor and sometimes even become the scapegoat. There's always a scapegoat. And that person changes often because the scapegoat doesn't always last long, especially when narcissists in the workplace rally against this person. Because in the workplace, once somebody is assigned the role of the scapegoat by someone high up, it becomes easy for other people to save themselves by throwing that person under the bus. Then of course, that's where flying monkeys come in. These people are probably not very emotionally healthy themselves, and they recognize that if it's not somebody else, it's gonna be them. So they go ahead and they pile on top of the person who's fallen out of favor for that moment. It's not them, and they can be thankful for that, and they can take a breath, they can breathe. These environments are just so toxic that no matter who you are, even if you're the golden child for the moment, you know that things could change like that. You just know it because you've been around long enough to see the changes taking place and all of the toxicity unfolding. So another player in the toxic workplace, when there's a narcissistic boss, is the codependent person. And it doesn't necessarily mean that this person would be codependent in every area of their lives. But let's say they feel dependent on this job for whatever reason. It's closer to home than any other job that I can get, making this much money. Or there's more opportunities here than I would get over at this other place. So I'm just gonna put in my time. I'm just gonna put up with it. I'm just going to endure this for as long as I can so I can get all of these benefits out of this job that I wouldn't get somewhere else. Or maybe somebody's in a place where they're just so financially strapped that they don't want to risk looking for another job. They just want to go in, get their paycheck, and go home. There are a lot of reasons why you can be dependent on a job and put up with this toxic environment. Okay, so what do you do when you're in it? How do you handle a toxic workplace where there are narcissists? Maybe it's your boss, maybe it's your coworker, but they're making your life miserable. So the most obvious thing to do is to start looking for another job. And I know that this is not always the easiest decision. I know it's not. But when you're thinking about it, when you're considering it, try thinking more about your health and well-being than whatever the benefits you are getting from working at this place. What if you were to take a lower paying job somewhere else? How much would the pay cut be? Think about what that's worth to you for your own emotional, physical, spiritual health, and for your own sanity. To go to a place that doesn't make you wake up in the middle of the night worrying about what's going to happen next. Think about it, consider all the factors I'm sure you already have. But do understand that stress, prolonged stress, can have a physical impact on you. And that might be what you're trading. You might end up trading your physical health for this job. So seriously, seriously consider it. Now, if you decide you have to stay, or maybe you're going to leave, but there's a transition period, it's not always wise to just up and leave any job. The same rules basically apply in the workplace as they do for dealing with narcissists outside of the workplace. First, there's no contact, and no contact is very, very difficult when you work with somebody. But if you can get away with not talking to this person who clearly is a narcissist, if you can get away with that, do it. And I'm not talking about being rude. If you see this person in the hallway, go ahead and say hi, but you don't have to engage. Once you say hi, go ahead and walk the other way. Again, there are very few times when that is actually going to apply in the workplace. Most of the time we have to interact with these narcissists. So the next technique is gray rock. And gray rock works very well in personal situations, and it can also work in the workplace. But you're going to find that you're going to be able to employ different levels of it based on who the narcissist is in your workplace and how much interaction you really need to have with them. So, for example, if the narcissist is your boss, you're only going to be able to sway conversations so much. But what you can do, if it's your boss or not, is you can use a reverse shift response. So instead of shifting the conversation to yourself, you're always practicing shifting it away from yourself. So let's just say your boss asks you a personal question, something, what did you do over the weekend? You answer it quickly, give a brief answer, and then, shift it back to them. What did you do over the weekend? And as they talk, ask them questions. Then try to shift the conversation back to work. They'll feel like they had this personal conversation with you, but you will not have shared a whole lot of personal information about yourself. And when it comes to work conversations, also be careful of oversharing. Before you say anything, think about whether what you're about to say is necessary and whether it will benefit you or if it could be used against you. So unfortunately, when you're dealing with a narcissist, you kind of always have to be one step ahead. You have to think about how the information you're sharing is going to be used. And if you're questioning it, it's probably a good idea to keep it to yourself just for the moment. The next thing that's super important if you're dealing with a narcissist in the workplace is to protect yourself. CYA applies very much to dealing with narcissists in the workplace. So this might mean printing out emails with this person. Maybe you print out every email or just the important ones. Just keep a file, because especially if this person is your boss, anything that's on that public server, you don't own. So it can be gone tomorrow. If you want to cover yourself, if you really want to cover yourself, go ahead and keep records of everything that happens. Having records can help you if you have to talk to the boss about a narcissistic coworker, or if you have to go to HR. You can go to HR and say, well, he said this and she said that, and I said this, but the he said, she said, we all know it doesn't carry that much weight. But if you have evidence of inappropriate behavior or of somebody stealing your ideas, that's a different story. And it can help even if it's your boss. Try to document as much as you can. But if it is your boss and you're getting to that point where you want to go to HR, at this point, it's really, really a good time to reconsider this job. You still want to document everything in case things escalate after you leave this job. But if you're getting to the point where this narcissistic boss is pushing you to seek further action, it's time to start looking. So if you like this video, let me know by hitting the like button. And if you want to see more like it, be sure you're subscribed and hit that notification bell so you don't miss a thing. And I will see you next time.